Yeah, that's right. We are back. Before we jump into the week one preview, part one here on the Audible, Sigmund, this is our 19th season of doing the Audible and doing this show, these weekly previews, and we're back.
Yeah, we truly are back, and let's all take in a deep breath. See, so I always call this that last click before the first hill of the roller coaster. We're going to cry, we're going to scream, we're going to puke, we're going to laugh, we're going to come into the end of this ride and have done it together and enjoyed it, and we'll remember it. And that's the thing. It's the shared experience part of the NFL season. It's a beautiful thing to share it with you. It's a beautiful thing to share it with people. See, I know some of you, as you're listening to this right now, like you've been there the whole time. And there are people that I hear from that say, they were listening from year one. And that just feels love. And we could
Yep.
all use a little more love.
Yeah, could use that love. And if you're Baltimore, Kansas City, the NFL has proven they love you. So let's get into this Baltimore
Yeah.
side first, of course. The unveiling, the debut of King Henry in a Ravens uniform against Kansas City. How do you keep Pat Mahomes from beating you? Keep him cold on the sideline. So heavy dose of Derrick Henry. I'm mainly looking at the usage of Isaiah Likely this
Sure.
week for Baltimore, but this should be as simple as run it down their throat.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. How can this offense look? Year two, Todd Monken, Derrick Henry, so perfect. But this is an offensive line that it's a work in progress, and they lost offensive line coach. He joined the ancestors, Joe Dalsandris. Rest in peace. That's tough. Again, so maybe Kansas City's defense is good. So maybe we shouldn't judge where the Ravens are going to go, this offense is going to go this year by this game. That being said, it still could be Derrick Henry smash running through like the Kool-Aid man, running through everything. Like you said, we're going to watch Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, of course, trying to look like first rounder Rashad Bateman. But we may come out of this one saying, give it a little time. Maybe we haven't seen the best of the Ravens yet.
Yeah, maybe they haven't seen the best of the Ravens, and the Chiefs had a down year and they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Can they three-peat? Yeah, they can. The defense of their title begins now, and well, now we'll see how it looks. I think the end of the season it looks a little different. I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested in Samaje Perine and that Jerick McKinnon type of role, but that's maybe a later conversation. Let's see how they deal with it now in that aggressive Baltimore defense.
Cease, I've mentioned it more than once. I get revenge tour vibes from this offense. You add Xavier Worthy, that speed, Roshy Rice, a must play this week with Marquise Brown sidelined, maybe for only 1 week. Doesn't sound like, again, it's not a soft tissue injury. So Marquise Brown, again, what we see in this first game, Baltimore's defense is pretty good, might not be truly where this Kansas City offense is heading. But then again, doesn't it feel like a game where Mahomes is going to go for the jugular? This feels like a game. See, I've had more than one person say, I'm wanting to start Xavier Worthy over some receiver they took 2 or 3 rounds ahead of Xavier Worthy. I said, you're not crazy. You're not crazy, because easily Worthy could be the story of this game. Other story for fantasy is about Isaiah Pacheco. And as recently as a couple of weeks ago, Isaiah Pacheco was a player moving up on fantasy boards. Not a lot of competition for touches. New York Prince, Carson Steele was coming on a little bit before the preseason, but certainly no one expected him to turn into the story he turned into. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire dealing with PTSD, sending out healing vibes to him. But they get Samaje Perine. Is Samaje Perine Jerick McKinnon? Is it just in terms of roles? Is it just that simple? That's a bummer for Pacheco. And Steele is a super fascinating player because he wasn't just a pure fullback. He was a very productive player at Ball State, even at UCLA. So he has that fullback feel, but we saw him in the preseason probably have, this Kansas City offense produced some of the most memorable highlights of the preseason, and that means something. Just like whenever Patrick Mahomes threw to Tyreek Hill in triple coverage going to his second year, Cease, and we were like,
Uh-oh.
So Xavier Worthy, Carson Steele, what's going to happen at Pacheco? There's a lot here. Nice job, schedule makers, on Thursday. But wait, what? There's a game on Friday?
Yeah, Friday. I don't know how I feel about this, but
No.
Brazil. It is
Yeah.
Packers and Eagles up next. Packers side first, and it's Jordan Love, the encore show, right? Like, okay, we saw last year what you did. What can you do this year? Are the receivers going to stay healthy-ish? Talking about Christian Watson specifically. How's the new ground game look? Like, plenty of questions here, more than we normally think with Green Bay.
Yeah, and also interestingly enough, going against Vic Fangio's defense
Every day.
every day, especially twice on Friday in Brazil. And I mean, you almost want to make me bust out and sing Brazil. Great film too. But the big headline I think out of the summer was Christian Watson stayed healthy. Christian Watson, no news is good news. And maybe fire him up. Maybe fire him up against this Eagles offense if you're going to play any of the receivers, because we are going to have the full complement, which means Dontavian Wicks is that rare wide receiver we hold and wait for an injury, maybe an injury to Watson, maybe Dobbs, maybe Jaden Reed. But certainly him having all of those hands on board, Jordan Love being him there, maybe not Tucker Kraft, who had a tremendous end to the preseason, end to the summer, but then on the injury report with a back injury, you don't love seeing that. So maybe it's back to Luke Musgrave. If we do have a situation where there's one tight end, these two young ascendant tight ends, there's something there. But the main guy is going to be Josh Jacobs. And we saw, again, last week, right before the season, some moving parts in fantasy football. So Marshawn Lloyd's going on IR. He's not going on IR. Actually, A.J.
Right.
Dillon's going on IR.
Right.
And then Emmanuel Wilson now is the number 2 running back. All this means is Josh Jacobs is going to get as many snaps and touches. We know this is a Packers offense that frustrated us with running back by committee in the past. Not so in this opener. And watch out for Chris Brooks, Matt Waldman favorite, who got signed to the practice squad.
Shh. Be careful. Be careful with that one. That's for sure. Interesting, especially if Lloyd can't stay healthy or gets fumbleitis again.
Mm-hmm.
Is Russell Wilson going to lose his job in 1 week? I mean, no, but it's Steelers. Or excuse me, crap.
That's okay. Other side of the state.
Yeah, I forgot about the Eagles side. Sorry, apologies to Eagles and Howie Roseman. I still love you. Jalen Hurts faced cover 4 more than anybody last year, and now he gets to practice against it every day. So maybe he'll be better. But again, the Saquon Barkley debut, like this is going to be fun.
Yeah, big reveal. Hurts with Kellen Moore, maybe more Dallas Goedert. We saw Kellen Moore with Dallas really feature the tight end. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Who's the motion receiver? Who gets all those routes that Keenan Allen was turning into a ton of receptions with the Chargers last year? Remember they traded for Jahan Dotson. I don't really care. I mean, some say that may allow Smith to be in the slot more. Okay, we'll see. Smith and Brown. Smith may be a little underrated. The other story here in the background for me, Cecil, is this the Nick Sirianni hot seat season? It was the defense, it was the offensive coordinator, it was this, it was that. Well, if it doesn't get better this year, it's Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, that's for sure. Does it get better now with Russell Wilson?
We gave it a little bit of time. We're patient.
I know, we're patient. We got it. It should be run some more. And Russ, well, good luck against Atlanta. I'm much more excited on the Atlanta side. So let's slog through the Steelers.
Well, that's the whole thing, Cease, right?
Slog.
There was a point in the offseason where there was excitement. My friend at the farmer's market, the Steelers, they get Justin Fields, they get Russell Wilson for free, basically. It's going to be better, right? By the end of the summer, doesn't feel like it's going to be better.
No,
it feels like the same old self-defeating Steelers offense. So, 3-headed backfield with a banged up maybe Jalen Warren who's going to play. George Pickens, will Arthur Smith ruin him? Even Pat Fryermuth would say, well, the tight ends. How about the tight ends? It looks like a tight end committee now. Right. Atlanta's defense also added Justin Simmons and Matt Judon in the last couple of weeks, two of the best players, certainly. Matt Judon is an MVP, defensive MVP level player when he's on. So, yeah, this is going to be a frustrating day to be a Steelers fan or play any Steelers in your lineup.
Yeah, frustrating day, but not for Falcons fans. And this is going to be fun because Zach Robinson's offense should be quite robust. And if Bijan Robinson is their Christian McCaffrey, well, let's just watch him. Let's grab our popcorn and let's just watch. I'm excited about, can Kyle Pitts get something out here? Drake London, of course. Like, the assets are there. Let's see if they put it together this week.
Yeah, it's kind of unfair, right? These are the two teams that probably they've been enduring the worst quarterback play in the league for at least the last year or two, right? And then we have new presents to open. Steelers, it's Arthur Smith, who just left Atlanta, who was part of that horrible story.
Right.
And Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And you get Zach Robinson and Kirk Cousins with Atlanta. Oh boy. So we'll see. Steelers defense is going to be spirited. I think this could be a street fight kind of game, a 13-10 kind of game, because the Steelers defense will be spirited. Cam Hayward just getting a nice contract extension. So we'll see. We'll see about Kirk Cousins against a good pass rush. Patrick Queen added. I'm excited about the Steelers defense. At least Joey Porter got a real number one corner now. Minkah Fitzpatrick. Hey, oh yeah, that TJ Watt still plays for the Steelers too. So it might not be a big offensive game here, but Drake London's probably in your lineup. Kyle Pitts, you gotta love this. Raheem Morris. By the way, Kyle Pitts has a hamstring injury. I'm just telling you because we have to tell you everything. I'm not worried about it, but he has a hamstring injury. Okay,
Yeesh.
I mean, you're gonna probably play Kyle Pitts if you have him, but we already have the disappointment narrative in motion there. Darnell Mooney, watch out for him. Maybe it's 3rd and 15 against the Steelers defense, and that's Darnell Mooney's down. Even Ray McLeod, but like you said, Bijan Robinson. That's the real story here. I don't think it's going to be a Kirk Cousins game. I think it's going to be a Bijan Robinson game, and this isn't the Steelers' run defense of the past, but it's still not an easy team to run the ball against. We will see Tyler Algier trying to do that. Also, I think it's going to be a spirited game, a great game. I mean, Pittsburgh Atlanta has produced some great games over the years. Maybe not a great game for fantasy.
Yeah. So we'll move on to perhaps a great game for fantasy: Arizona and Buffalo. Arizona and Buffalo, and the debut of Marvin Harrison Jr. James Conner still the lead back. Trey Benson there. You scooped him up and Fessel OG Bloom. I was waiting. I was like, it's about rookie running back time. It's about rookie running back time. And I don't think you had many backs.
Mm-mm.
And then you just started taking them all. So you stole Trey Benson from me. But we won't see him much if James Conner holds up. And it's early in the season. We'll see what this Cardinals offense has in store.
Cecil, I almost wore my Jamal Charles jersey, the one that you gifted me after you gifted me Jamal Charles on the waiver wire. In week 2 in 2010 in Fessel, I won the championship because you gave up on Jamal Charles after 1 week. Yes, that's our Fessel story. But the story in this game on Atlanta side of the ball, I think, is truly this Cardinals offense might be a lot better than the last one we saw at the end of 2023. Okay, you add Marvin Harrison Jr. You have Kyler Murray now healthy, also a looser, more relaxed Kyle Murray all offseason, and Drew Petzing's offense. And Drew Petzing is one of those coaches. So, Cease, you can speak to this real quick, right? Going into the season, there are some names that folks are already chattering about in the NFL as we won't be surprised if this guy is one of the hot head coach names next year. Like last year was Ben Johnson, right? This year, I think it's probably Drew Petzing.
Yes. Yeah. 1000%.
So Petzing, Murray, and by the way, Matt Milano going down with that biceps injury for the Bills in the preseason. So Trey McBride.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Dortch. Buffalo's defense isn't scary, and also James Conner's good. And James Conner, if you're asking, should I start James Conner over even James Cook, like other running backs that went ahead of James Conner? Yes, because while James Conner is in, he is going to be the running back one. You mentioned Trey Benson; he's just the backup, I think, at this point. And I think we could see Arizona go into Buffalo, make some Bills fans very sad because this is going to be potentially one of the best growth offenses in the league.
Yeah, and Sean McDermott is coaching for his job. So we'll see how that looks in week 1 for Buffalo, for Josh Allen, for James Cook, and a cast of thousands. But we know certainly what they want to do is maybe be on the ground a little bit more. Maybe Buffalo's offense surprises some people because it's not as Josh Allen arm-centric. Allen will still run. He'll get his rushing touchdowns here and there. But more James Cook, maybe not a bad idea, especially with McDermott coaching, in my opinion, for his job.
This is a kind of boring offense or underwhelming offense. The Joe Brady offense, for fantasy for Josh Allen, it was fine last year once Brady took over because he got a ton of rushing touchdowns, something like 7 in 5 weeks. And if that continues, you'll be okay with Josh Allen. But is he going to put up the passing numbers? And is he going to support anyone that you can consistently put in your lineup other than Dalton Kincaid in terms of his targets? And James Cook will also be a target. We'll see about James Cook. I mean, he's in the lineup. He's in your lineup. He's the lead back, but Ray Davis and Ty Johnson are there. And Davis is going to get a chance to show that he can do more than Johnson and Latavius Murray did last year. I think Khalil Shakir looks like a good play this week in PPR leagues when you start 3 receivers and a flex. You have that chemistry already established. It's not true with Coleman, not true with Curtis Samuel. Turf toe. Let's see how he's dealing with that. But Samuel's the one guy who can take the top off of the defense out of these receivers. So if he's not 100%, you see everything getting compressed and maybe a bit of a frustrating day unless it's Dalton Kincaid ripping the seam. Again, he's the one guy for sure you're going to put in. Probably going to see Mac Hollins get more snaps and more targets than people would want. If you got Keon Coleman, let's just wait and see. And for the Bills, let's wait and see because, yes, I think this is a yardstick game and one that could turn the heat or at least get people thinking about Sean McDermott and how secure he is if this team loses a home opener against a team that didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yeah, they should take care of business, but we'll see. Keon Coleman's what the heck flex for me, just because the big body near the end zone. Love him. 4 games down, 4 games to go in part 1 of the week 1 preview here on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, Titans and Bears. The excitement's around the Bears, but the Titans are interesting for a few reasons. One, Will Levis. What are you going to do? How's that look going into this year and starting again for this team? And then the backfield, because it's 2 backs that are somewhat similar, although I prefer Tyjae Spears. But how's that split with Tony Pollard going from fantasy purposes? Probably frustrating you.
Yeah, this is actually an exciting reveal on both sides. Both of these teams are going to be very different on offense than what we saw last year. And that's fun. And that's really fun for fantasy. And being out ahead of those changes and gauging them correctly before we see them is a big part of fantasy football drafting.
Right.
But for Tennessee, one thing that hasn't changed, or I should say for Chicago, is their defense. And this defense was really surging. And that's why you keep Matt Eberflus, right? We talked about it with Philadelphia, where you keep the coach, you make some changes. And if he doesn't get better this year, well, maybe that's not the coach. But Eberflus had that defense playing really well. So maybe for Will Levis, Brian Callahan and company, Bill Callahan rehabilitating that offensive line, additions all over the offense. Maybe this isn't the best yardstick of how those offensive additions are going to do. But I think for the backfield, an addition there, Tony Pollard, slightly ahead of Tyjae Spears. But again, this might be more of a floor game than a ceiling game for this offense in the first game with all of the new scheme and new personnel. DeAndre Hopkins, we don't know if his knee is 100%. Sure, you can play Calvin Ridley, but again, this might be a frustrating game for the passing game here. We'll be watching Traylon Burks. There's a tight end by committee. We can't even look at Chiggy Okonkwo, but we can look at, see, this time, this is really the time. This is the time. It's real this time. The Bears have a quarterback.
The Bears have a damn good quarterback who can overcome whatever coaching he's going to get, and he can do that with Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. Keenan, of course, as well, and we'll see how the backfield shapes up because they've got a few guys that could be essentially their number 1 running back. So committee there, but it's all eyes on Caleb. Who's his favorite? Who's he go to on 3rd down? Who's he go to in the red zone? DJ Moore's going to get schemed open, and he's going to get open just with his natural talent. But you know, and I'm not the only one saying it, so it's not like look at me, but like don't ever sleep on Rome Odunze.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, really, you could justifiably play any of these 3 Bears receivers. Keenan Allen had a great summer. DJ Moore is still DJ Moore. L'Jarius Sneed, by the way, let's mention new look Titans defense. Denard Wilson from the Ravens bloodline. L'Jarius Sneed, what a great trade that was for them. They also had Quandre Diggs during the preseason camp part of the calendar. So we'll see, but Caleb Williams, I think he's going to get the drop on this Tennessee defense. And that's why I would start any of the 3 receivers. They're all like upside wide receiver 3 plays. Probably we'll see 3 running backs also. And
Yes.
DeAndre Swift also had a lot of rave reviews. I will not be surprised if Swift goes out and makes a big big bang in this first game out of the momentum that it seems like he has created, especially in the passing game. I do think this is going to be a run-heavy offense. I think we're going to see a lot of Roschon Johnson. What I mean, I say a lot. We may see him at the goal line. We may see him on passing downs. I think we'll see some Khalil Herbert. I think he could get a drive here and there. I think you're going to see a true committee. And Velus Jones also is getting looks in the backfield. They're saying maybe not in the first week, but he may eventually work him in there. So not what you love to hear for fantasy, but this offense, even two tight ends, right? Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. This is going to be a test for the Titans and their new look secondary, because this all of a sudden is an exciting Bears offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe doesn't mean as much as it used to, but this is a lead Sports Center type of offense.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to be talking about what Caleb did or did not do. Less are going to be talking about the New England Patriots. Some transitions are better than
Yeah.
others, but and the Bengals side is certainly more interesting based on the Jamar Chase situation. But let's talk New England, which means a lot of Ramondre Stevenson
Yeah,
talk.
right. Oh, save us from Andre Stevenson. You're our only
Yes,
hope. You're probably playing because of that, especially in PPR leagues. I won't be surprised if he
sure.
touches the ball like 22, 23 times. Jacoby Brissett, I don't know. Alex Van Pelt, by the way, calling the plays.
Yeesh.
Pop Douglas, Jalen Polk. This isn't maybe Douglas, just because Douglas could easily have a 7 for 57 kind of line here. Tyquan Thornton had a good summer. At least he could get some breathing room with his speed. Hunter Henry was a little banged up this summer. He's the one veteran in this passing game, while Kendrick Bourne is still ailing. And Cincinnati's defense is good. That's the other thing. Cincinnati's defense is a good opportunistic defense. So that's the main play when New England has the ball, is you hope you have the Cincinnati defense in if your league still uses it.
Yeah, and Cincinnati. Okay, we're recording this Wednesday morning. I don't know when you're watching it. Hopefully Wednesday afternoon. What's the Jamar Chase latest? And just kind of I mean, they're selling TVs. Like, can we afford Jamar Chase by slashing prices on our televisions that were at the stadium? Yeah, Bloom. I mean, it's just I don't like the messaging. I don't like waiting. Don't be cheap. It's Cincinnati, so whatever. But like, pay the man. Pay the man his monies. But as of this recording, that hasn't happened.
Yeah. Tacky? Is that an okay word to use
Yes.
here?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
It's tacky. See, I was ready to make a huge flowery speech that probably could have gone on for way too long at the beginning of the show. One of the things that has dawned on me recently is I really do believe the great American novel is the NFL now. Like everything that is amazing and transcendent, and everything that is depressing and makes you feel like nihilistic, it's all in there. All of America is reflected in this current moment, is reflected in the NFL. And then you have the Bengals, right? Well, just because it's like, I mean, what is it? I mean, there's a good story. There's a good book called Nine Lives. Katrina, it was just the 19th anniversary of Katrina. I could go on and on about that. And there's a bank. There's someone who works at the bank, and the rich people in New Orleans, from the old families, really embrace him because he knows how to like move the money around so they can still host big parties and seem rich, even though they're not actually rich anymore. Right? Isn't this an American story? I mean, the Bengals aren't even trying to seem rich though. So it's just strange. And I think this is where, again, I've made this speech on the show a couple of weeks ago about how, of course, in the most American sport, how executives do their executive decisions is going to filter down to the field. It's going to come down and affect what happens on the field. And in this case, it is the notoriously cheap Bengals who at least knew to pay Joe Burrow before it got down to the last second. But we're past the last second, or at the last second, in terms of fantasy football for week 1 for Jamar Chase. Even if he plays, he probably won't play a full complement of snaps.
Sure. Yep.
And Andre Oshivas, I mean, he's going to get a lot of run in this game because Jermaine Burton, who knows if he's even going to be active. It sounds like the same things that were his reputation at Alabama and Georgia, preparation issues, similarly carrying over through training camp in the preseason, and maybe some Mike Gesicki. I don't know. Charlie Jones, Trenton Irwin. Maybe we'll see Zach Moss. Again, this is a close to a 50-50 committee. It's going to sort itself out by merit or maybe by injury. Zach Moss maybe get goal line carries. Chase Brown, more of an upside play. They're both flex plays. What the heck flex plays? It is a New England defense that traded away their best player during the preseason. but it doesn't feel like a great week for Joe Burrow, even though it should be, because of this cloud hanging over this team. Even T. Higgins, you wonder if like T. Higgins is that one guy. Of course, he's in your lineup, but if that's all Christian Rodriguez, right? That's all they have to worry. I'm sorry, Gonzalez. If that's all they have to worry about, Christian Gonzalez before he got hurt last year looked like he was a rising star. And if he can nullify T. Higgins, this could be an ugly game.
This could be a New England win, and this could be
Sure.
one of those games where Cincinnati at the end of the year just misses the playoffs. Oh, because they lost to New England in week 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that New England's
Absolutely.
going to the postseason, but this is the type of
Belichick
game.
lives. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Where, okay, Gerard Mayo, get things started off with a road win. We shall see. Houston and Indy, important within that division. I'm going to make Indy fans mad, but I think Houston runs them out of their own building. CJ Stroud, encore. Do you want more? The answer is yes. And by the way, even today, I have to laugh. Even today on the Football Guys Newswire, there was a story that came out of like Joe Mixon going to get a large workload. Yeah, we've heard that about a dozen times this offseason.
We start with Houston with the Stephon Diggs trade early this offseason, and basically a declaration that it's a Super Bowl window opening move. The Texans are going for it this year. They're not waiting. There's not a slow build here. So we'll see. And what kind of Stephon Diggs we get. Is he willing to be a 1C with a 1A and a 1B in Tank Dell and Nico Collins? But you're going to play all of them. Experience at corner for Indianapolis, CJ Stroud. And really, when you trade for Stephon Diggs, you also are saying, and yeah, I know we talk about Joe Mixon, but this is CJ Stroud's offense. I think there could be plenty of games where he throws the ball 40 or 45 times, and not because they're playing from behind in the second half. Okay, but Joe Mixon is a solid play. It seems like he's over whatever kept him out for most of camp in the preseason, and we're not even sure who's behind him. Cam Akers, Damian Pierce. We'll watch that. On the NDD side, I do want to see Layatu Latu. I'm really excited to see this guy.
Just stay healthy.
Yeah, a lot of positive buzz, a game wrecker potentially. Maybe that's part of the story here. But Texans, this again, it's whiplash. How this team has gone from a disaster, absolute disaster, their name in the streets all negatively, to in a Super Bowl window, it's the transformative power of CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, we shall see what happens on the Indy side. I was asked by an executive before the draft, like, who's your favorite pass rusher? I was like, it's Latu, with a big caveat of like, he's got to stay healthy. Speaking of staying healthy, Anthony Richardson, it's your time. And this is where we disagree, Bloom. And this is probably not the show for it because he's not playing yet, but I don't think Flacco's any sort of savior. And Anthony Richardson, just asked the Bengals and their players from the joint practices of like, he's just a spot thrower. He's not even reading the defense. Like, okay. And if you're Houston, you could really thrive. So Richardson, from a fantasy perspective, because his rushing ability, could be the best fantasy quarterback in week 1. And he could be that every week, Sigmund. But in real football, could be problemous.
Yeah, you're kind of nervous for him, right? It's
Sure,
still
yeah.
still his rookie year. And
Yeah.
I think the stat was 17 starts since high school, something like that.
Whoa.
So he's still got that learning period, and maybe the lesson is taught by Danielle Hunter. Do you remember that they got Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, who looked like he was very much worth the trade up, which they didn't pay nearly as much as everyone thought when they did that
Right.
trade up for Will Anderson. So
Right.
there's the pinchers. There's the classic pinchers attacking Anthony Richardson. Of course, you've got Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor should, I think the Colts set out wanting Jonathan Taylor to put his mark on this game more so than Anthony Richardson. But when Anthony Richardson does very well, Josh Downs did miss the first day of practice this week. Ankle injury back on August 7th. So if he's not practicing almost a month later, I don't want him to play. If you have Josh Downs, root for him to sit in this one because it's an ankle injury. I think it was a high ankle sprain. Certainly, if it's ankle injury that is still keeping him out of practice, or the team says he shouldn't practice a month removed from that. So maybe a little more Michael Pittman, Adonai Mitchell. So see, very interesting. Mitchell and Burton both had the rep. Wow, can they play? But you've got a puzzle to solve to get their best football. Burton, puzzle still very much not solved. Mitchell embraced. And it's just like we heard during that press conference after the draft, that they're combative about defending their guy, and he could have, especially with looks like Downs maybe not playing, trending towards not playing. Mitchell could be a story here, but the bigger story is, again, Anthony Richardson. Can he finish the game? Is the word out on the street, speaking the word of the street, that how to make him frustrated? Or can Shane Steichen, good offensive line, some young talent, put him in a place to succeed?
Final game we're going to talk about, part one of the week one preview here on the Audible, Jaguars, Dolphins. And with Jacksonville, it's merely just Trevor Lawrence taking that next step. The money is there, the hype is there, certainly. We've seen some good film from him, although inconsistent at times. Christian Kirk is a full go from the calf injury that was bothering him. Doug Peterson says no problem there. He's going to be a full go week one. So with a full complement of weapons, and in a game where you're going to have to score, how does
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence and company look?
And it's a Miami defense that lost some big names, and also their best pass rushers are a rookie and someone coming back from an Achilles tear. So this is a good game for the Jacksonville offense to get out of the gate fast. Brian Thomas really came on in training camp as it went on, and once they put the pads on, and in the preseason and in the joint practices, and he really might be more impactful than Calvin Ridley. It's funny, Cecil, we look back at the time, we thought, oh no, the Jags really wanted to bring back Calvin Ridley, and the Titans stepped into the last second and got him. Then they actually even traded down in the draft, got Brian Thomas in the first round. We thought, well, they're settling. Well, this might be that they win out in the end, and in the short term even, because Brian Thomas's speed and size is going to strike fear in the heart of secondaries in a way that Calvin Ridley isn't at this point in his career. But that could open up things for Kirk, for Ingram, for Gabe Davis, who they like, and they're using him in a different way than Buffalo used him. They're using him on crossing routes. He's a big body, and he's got some speed. He's got some build-up speed. So I'll be interested to see, not so much for fantasy, unless we're talking about Trevor Lawrence, where you have 4 good weapons out there, and Travis Etienne, who they're going to apparently this time really use him more in the passing game.
Right.
But that could be a sign that we'll see more Tank Bigsby. He had a redemption summer. He had a good summer last summer, didn't follow through on the field. So we're going to watch that. A lot of questions here, but there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about this Jacksonville offense.
Yeah, reasons to be optimistic. And then, well, the optimism abounds. Tyreek Hill trolling fantasy GMs. I'm okay. I'm going to play. It's going to be a full go. So speed, and more speed. It's like Ricky Bobby running a football team. So let's have it, Dolphins.
Yeah, Dolphins, Jalen Waddle looked like a calf thing that he had, but he's practicing. Hill had a thumb issue. He's practicing. So we'll see. Odell Beckham nowhere to be seen, at least 4 weeks until we see him. So Malik Washington, watch out for the rookie. Maybe we're going to be talking about him on our Monday morning waiver wire show.
Very good. Loved him at the Shrine Bowl. So
Yep.
there's your bong grip.
Potential opening for him for Jonnu Smith, who was listed as the number 2 fullback. I don't know what that means, but I know that Jonnu Smith is a player that Mike McDaniel is going to do some creative things with. And then there's, of course, the running game, which now apparently is a 3-headed backfield with Jalen Wright. Yes, and it's a potential hot hand backfield. But here's the good news. This running game is so explosive and so productive that you still, bottom line, you want H. Henry in your lineup. You want Mostert in your lineup. And we may find after week 1, you want Wright in your lineup. Tua Tagovailoa against Ryan Nielsen's defense. Ryan Nielsen, is a good defensive coordinator. So, yeah, intriguing Florida matchup.
Yes, that's right. Always intriguing matchups in the National Football League. That is a wrap for part 1 of the week 1 preview here on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom. Part 2 coming out on Thursday. Bloom, you've got On the Couch on Wednesdays. We will be live on Sundays. We have Thursday Night Live with Matt Waldman. That's returning for this season as well. Our Monday waiver wire show, maybe some secret Bob Harris shows showing up in the Audible feed. So make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And if you want to support the show, then subscribe to footballguys.com. He's Sigmund Bloom. Follow him on X at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.